Welcome to the show, titled Conversation with A. Here, we focus on the role behind the person to give you, the viewers, some insight into how to operate in their world. I'm Davo, and today we have
Shanelle Dyer, MMA Strawweight Fighter.
Thank you for being here. So, could you tell us what is a strawweight and what is MMA?
MMA is mixed martial arts. It composes of different martial arts mixed together. So that's kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, all the different components of martial arts into one sport. And the Strawweight Fighter is a 115-pound fighter.
So is it mandatory to be disciplined in multiple fighting styles to be considered an MMA fighter?
Not really. For mixed martial arts, you can have one speciality. You can actually fight only one discipline in mixed martial arts, but you're probably not going to get really far just fighting one discipline. So it's best to fight different types of disciplines.
So strawweight is a weight class. What other weight classes exist?
It goes atom weight, straw weight, flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight.
So right now, from your standpoint, what weight class has the most fighters and what weight class is the most popular with audiences?
The most popular weight class is definitely the lightweight division, because you have people like Conor McGregor, Khabib was in it, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler now, he just came over from Bellator. So that's definitely the biggest weight division, because they're strong and they're small, so they have the speed and the strength, and it's just an amazing weight class at the moment.
How long have you been fighting for?
Muay Thai, I've been doing that for about 8-9 years now, but MMA I've only started about 2.5 years, so I'm still fresh into MMA.
So your specialism is Muay Thai?
Yeah, Muay Thai, stand-up fighting. I've been doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling for about 2.5 years.
How many titles do you have?
I have 27 titles. That includes 1 MMA title, 26 Muay Thai K1 titles, including 6 world titles, European titles, British, English, Super League titles that I've fought in Turkey, Germany, Italy, and all over the UK.
And what was it that inspired you to get into MMA?
Fighting, my dad used to just take me and my siblings out, different sports. He tried football, running, swimming, just to keep us busy, like after school, keep us off the streets and just keep us focused and disciplined. And my brothers used to do a bit of boxing. So one day he just brought us to the gym, and I just fell in love with it. The people, the discipline, the fighting. So from there, I just carried on. But when I turned about 18, 19, I actually needed a career, and I knew Muay Thai, I wasn't going to get a career out of Muay Thai. They didn't pay a lot of money, maybe a couple thousand, but you're not going to live off a couple thousand. So I was kind of drifting off Muay Thai, and I found MMA. And I was like, yeah, I can do MMA and earn actually a living. All I want to do for the rest of my life is fight. So if I want to do that, I have to do MMA.
How did you become a fighter?
I was doing Muay Thai for ages. And obviously I was going through that spell of trying to find a career path and stuff. So I was kind of going off Thai boxing. I was training a lot. And I went to an interclub. That's a friendly fight at my gym. And I was helping cornering people. And so somebody else wanted to do the interclub. I was like, okay. And I fought this kid, David, and he punched me, and that was like the first time I've ever got rocked in a fight, and it was meant to be a friendly fight. And then afterwards we shook hands whatever, and I found out that was my coach. His dad was the MMA coach, and he was like, oh, come down to Team Underground to do MMA, and I was like, okay, I'll come, but I had no intention of coming. But one day I just was bored, and I just came up and I went to the gym, and I just fell in love with it. The whole vibe of the gym, of him, he was saying, oh, you're going to be a UFC fighter. And I was like, okay. And yeah.
That fight, you would fight a man?
No, it was a friendly fight. So it was like a real fight, but he still punched me hard. I was like, And I went to the gym, and then I just kept training. I started jiu-jitsu, and I just got tapped out like 10 times that session. But 4 months later down the line, he was just like, do you want to have an MMA fight in 5 days? I was like, okay. And I had my MMA fight, and I knocked the girl out in the first round. And I was like, oh, I want to do MMA from there.
So it was love at first punch?
Yeah.
So Do you have sponsors or a team?
Yeah, I fight out of Team Underground and the Nausea Academy. I have a couple of sponsors there: Provide Security, Sweeney Dodge Fight Gear, Notorious, SD Harris Show, QR Unit, and Leapfrog. They supply me with fight gear, sponsorship money, and this helped me in my career.
And what about the team? What do they consist of?
It's MMA, so we have a lot of different disciplines. So we have a teacher for every single discipline. We have a wrestling coach called Ali. Steven, the head coach, he teaches the jiu-jitsu. We have another guy, JJ, and Hadrian. They do the gi jiu-jitsu. And my Thai coach, Christian Knowles, he does the stand-up Thai boxing, kickboxing. And I have a recovery team, QR Unit. So they do my physiotherapy and recovery.
So how are fighters paid?
For amateur, you don't really get paid. You might get paid off commission. So every ticket sales you do, you might get £5 or £10. That's for amateur. But when you fight pro, you have to sign a contract. Some fights might be only like one fight contract. You get a couple thousand. But I know when you fight for like UFC, you get a contract, and it will start off with £10,000 to show and £10,000 to win. So if you win the fight, you get £20,000. If you lose, you only get £10,000. When you progress and keep winning the fights, the amount will go up. So your next contract will be £20,000 to show, £20,000 to win. But you also get winning KO bonuses. So if you do a KO, got fight of the night, you get extra £50,000. So if you get fight of the night and win your fight, you get £70,000 in like one go. But different organizations vary in their pay.
So then is the plan to enter into more competitions, more matches, and then ultimately settle for a promotion?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely when I go professional, I don't want to sign 100% into that one organization. I want to flow around for 2 or 3 fights, get my experience up, find low-level professionals before actually getting signed, and get the experience fighting pro before actually getting signed, because you never know what will happen. Okay, if you get signed and you start losing a few fights, then they might just release you.
Do you feel that the MMA world in the UK is overlooked compared to other territories like the USA?
Yeah, I think definitely, because obviously the biggest brands, like the UFC, it's based in America, so they favor their American things as well. And I think we're overlooked because they just see us as stand-up fighters. They're like, the UK has no wrestling, no jiu-jitsu, they're just stand-up fighters. Because America, they have wrestling in high school. You have like Dagestani, Russian wrestling. Brazil, they have like jiu-jitsu. Japan, they have like K1 and stuff like that. Thailand, they have Thai boxing. And it's just like UK just have stand-up. And we don't really have a champion other than Michael Bisping. We might have Leon Edwards in a couple months, but yeah, they just overlook us. But hopefully, when I get up there, I'll erase that stigma.
Bring it home.
Yeah.
How often do you train?
I train 6 days a week. On fight camp 2 times, maybe 3 times a day.
What is fight camp?
Fight camp is when you up the level of training and you fight and you train specifically for one fight or one opponent. So you base your whole training based on that opponent. So if they're a grappler, you up the grappling, takedown defense, escapes, and that. You run more, you get your cardio on point, you get your strength on point, and everything's 100. Goes from 50% to 100%. You're not really learning no more techniques. You're just fine-tuning everything. And that's when the diet comes into play as well. You cut out, especially when you're weight cutting, you cut out the takeaway. You eat a specific diet, and everything's focused on that one fight.
So let's say you've had a match, win or lose. How long is the recovery period?
Me, it's kind of bad because I go in the gym literally the next day, start training, but not on fight camp. I start like rolling. I don't really like taking long breaks between fights. I try to fight every 6 weeks, maybe less, maybe a little bit more. When you're professional, you will only fight like 3 times a year because the load that you're working with is so heavy. Like the weight cuts, the pressure, the media, the everything, the time, the commitment. So you can only fight a maximum like 4 times a year. Then you take like a month off in between fights.
So how do you prepare for a match?
I'll prepare for fights. I've been doing fights for ages, so it's like another day for me fighting. So I just try to treat it as another day. I basically just focus on that fight, up the training, do my PTs, do my road work. That's really important. That I've learned throughout my whole fighting career, because your opponent can beat you. Like, you be better than your opponent, but if they're better at cardio than you, they'll beat you. So I've been upping my cardio, just focus on that fight. Everything I do, like even in and out of training, it's based around that one fight.
I know in the MMA world, fighters have different martial arts styles, but do fighters also have a particular signature move or maneuver?
Yeah, most people do. Like, my move is teeping someone in the face. Everyone always expects it in every single fight. They're always just like, oh, I can't wait for the teep to the face. So I try doing every single fight. It started off because on my first MMA fight, I teeped the girl, she fell over, then I did a jumping teep to the face, and it went viral. And then after that, everyone's just like, I want to see the teep to the face. So I do in every fight. People expect it, but they don't respect it. Even my last Thai fight, I did it to her. She I knew it was coming, but I couldn't do anything. Like, my second MMA fight, I didn't. I broke the girl's eye socket, and her eye went like that. After that, I'm doing in every single fight. So that's my signature move.
So when you're in a match and you're facing your opponent, is there something you need to switch off?
Kinda, because in the beginning when I first see my opponent, I kind of feel sorry for them. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna smash your face in. But then I have to switch it. Be like, it's all business. They signed up for it. I signed up for it. So I just switched off. Just go business mode. Did it? I don't really care who it is. It's just a person that I just need to beat and score my points with and potentially knock out. Then afterwards, the fight's finished. It all goes back to normal, and we hug, we talk, we laugh, and it's nothing personal. It's just business.
Oftentimes, I see during matches the coach shouting out orders.
Yeah.
How do you balance listening to your coach versus focusing on the fight?
I think you have to be in tune with your coach. Because for me personally, I can only have certain people in my corner to actually listen to. Other people that might be in my corner, and if I don't trust them or don't have a particular relationship with them, I won't hear them. So only certain people I will literally hear. The crowd I don't really hear, just my 1 or 2 coaches that I hear. So when we have that kind of relationship, I know what they're actually going to tell me what to do before they tell me what to do, because they can see it from outside perspective. When they shout it, it's that split second and I can see it and I'll just do it straight away.
As a fighter, do you prefer winning by KO, TKO, decision, or submission?
I want to do submission, you know. I've never actually submitted someone in a fight, so that's one of my goals. But KO is definitely the best because there's no question that you actually won the fight. But everyone actually overlooks decision, especially when it's unanimous decision, because you can get a lucky KO. You might be losing a fight and get a lucky KO, but a decision, especially unanimous, that means you've won the fight clearly. Like, you pieced up your person, like no one, and it's it.
So, what are some of the injuries you've had in your whole entire career as a fighter?
I'm one of the lucky ones. I fight all the time, but I haven't had any big injuries, like any really injuries. Like, when I was younger, I used to sprain my ankle. Like, every single fight, I used to sprain my ankle. I used to go to fights with sprained ankle, still kicking people. So after that, I think I just got immune to it and just I can kick like trees with my bare shins and not feel anything now.
Trees.
Yeah.
So I know your record is 4 wins, 2 losses.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the losses? How do you deal with that?
I don't really. It's all amateur, so I don't really. People overlook losing an amateur. Like, I take the hardest fights possible that I can get. Most people try to sugarcoat their record, only take the easiest fight. But I take proper hard fights now. I work harder off a loss than a win. Because then I go back and analyse my mistakes. I'm like, okay, I need to work on my jiu-jitsu, do that even more. Need to work on my wrestling, do that even more. So I take all the positives and the negative and turn them into positives to move forward. So yeah, losses don't really faze me.
So how much is winning or even losing a fight based on the fighter making a mistake and being caught versus the fighter actually being bested by their opponent?
For me, if a person gets lucky in a fight and I've dominated the whole fight, especially in amateur, and I dominate the whole fight and she gets lucky, why am I gonna cry over 5 seconds of her being lucky when I've had 13 minutes of like an amazing performance? I'm gonna focus more on that 30 minutes of an amazing performance than that 5 seconds of luck, because you can't really do anything to best that luck. If the person's better than you in the match, they're better than you. You need to get better to beat them next time. But if they get lucky, then they know it's luck. Everyone else knows it's luck. It's not your fault. And then let's move on.
What physical and mental attributes do you need to be a strawweight MMA fighter?
I think you need to have strong mental abilities, because most fights are lost in the change rooms in your head. Like your most best competitor is yourself in your head. If you doubt yourself in the change rooms, if you doubt yourself in the fight, then you're going to lose the fight. It doesn't matter who you're fighting. You have to fight yourself first and win before you actually have to fight your opponent. Because when you're getting punched in the face, kicked, it's so easy to quit. Like, you could just quit in the fight, but you need to have the willpower and the discipline to actually win the fight. The discipline in the training. So you get your cardio done. You might hate cardio, but it needs to be done. To have the discipline to do that, the discipline to train, wake up in the mornings, have late nights, early mornings, the discipline to actually have a fight camp, to actually win the fights.
You mentioned something quite interesting there in regards to mentally losing a fight. So then in match build-ups or, press conferences with your opponent, those mind games that can play a part in defeating your opponent before it's even begun.
If you take heed on those mind games, you've already lost the fight. Like, you need to be emotionless when you're fighting. You can't be angry. The second you get angry in a fight, you've lost the fight. Like, if you have to have strong willpower and mental strength, because if somebody's trying to beat you up and you're getting beat up, then you start getting angry, you start throwing reckless shots, start trying to fight haymakers, everything's not calculated, and your opponent's thinking calculated. The second you throw that big swing, they can just knock you out straight away. And I think, because I lost the fight, it was a world title fight in Muay Thai. I think it was my only third pro fight, and they made me have a world champion, WBC ranked #1, all the way in Italy, and she's been fought in Bellator, and she's like way older and heavier. And I lost that fight before I even went to Italy. Cause I was like, why are they giving me a huge fighter in my third MMA fight? Why they making me fight this girl? Like, how am I gonna win this fight? She's way heavier. And from there, I knew I lost that fight, because I doubted myself before. I doubted myself in the ring, and I look back watching that fight now, I was like, I could have smashed her, but it was all mentally. So if you need to picture yourself winning before you can actually win.
As a fighter, when you watch other fighters in their match, can you tell when a fighter's lost their will to fight?
Yeah, you can tell that, like, that switch, like, they're not fighting the way that you know that they can fight, and you can like tell in their demeanor that they don't want to be there. Like, especially Khabib does this really well. When he drowns your opponent, and you can tell the point where they just give up. Like when he done that to Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Gaethje, he takes them down and just mows them down, and you can just tell they just give up, and he just chokes them out.
So it's always having that in-ring presence as well.
Yeah, but I have that a lot in especially Thai boxing. The like emotions just go forward. They're hitting me, just keep a poker face. They keep hitting me, poker face, and counter. Or just like they're fighting you, throwing all their hard shots, and they're like, why is it not getting through? Even though it might be getting through, but you're not showing anything.
Okay, so before we wrap it up, I'm going to ask you one last question. Something that we ask all our guests. What song would you like to include in our playlist?
I'm going to hook you up with my mate, my bro Rem. He has a song called Titan, so definitely add that into your playlist.
So Rem, R-E-M?
R-E-M-Z, Titan.
And that's on Spotify?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm Shanelle Dyer. I beat people up for a living, and you're watching Asani TV.
If you want to be part of the show or are interested in any advertising and sponsorship opportunities, the links are in the description. If you've enjoyed this video, please do comment, like, share, and subscribe.